Welcome to another episode of the Wood Couture podcast, recording live here in Blue Water at the Oblong Contemporary Art Gallery. Today we have the absolute pleasure to welcome to the show the one and only, my Italian fellow, Antonio Signorini. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
For the people that do not know Antonio's work, I'm sorry for you, but let me tell you, what you see behind us is just one of the many masterpieces created by Antonio himself. We will know everything about him in just a minute when we will dive deep into the story of his life. But beyond the art, Antonio masterized what we call it the structural art, how to blend and marry art with the architecture of the buildings. And that is a topic that we also want to explore. As I see, I'm choking because I'm excited. So, jokes apart, let's start. And we're all very curious. We want to know where the art passion comes from.
Well, art passion, I think, is a kind of you're born with it. And I still remember when I was a kid, like 4 or 5, my mother went crazy because I was drawing and sketching in all the furniture in the house. So it was a tough time, I think, and she was smart enough to send me over straight away and having white pages to drawing on it instead of the furniture or the wall in the house. My belief, I think, all artists mostly, but speaking me particularly, is the necessity of express yourself. And sometimes people have different language. And my language was the art way, so drawing, sculpting, doing things. I strongly believe that art is the universal language. We have it, and we need it to improve in any meanings and to understand. Then isn't something that in front of a piece of art, all of us, doesn't matter where you're from, you have a wonder and you have an understanding. Doesn't matter if the artist is Chinese, Russian, any part of the world. So that's why I consider art as a universal language. And speaking about me, since always, I think I don't recall a time where I didn't have something to sketch or touch or transform, and is always to me a surprise. I usually don't really know when I'm starting doing something what will end it up, and is a miracle every time. It's a miracle in the meaning, not because I believe to be one of a kind, but it's just because you start manipulating, for example, a piece of clay, and then from something completely inerted, you see something having a different form, and it's surprising me first. So I think it's also an elixir of being the youth and always young, because it's always in the first time, every time. Even when you do a small sketch, I really suggest to everyone to have more attention, because the art is for everyone, in the real meaning. So it doesn't matter to take it as a professional level. Even in our normal life, we can notice what I'm saying. I'm sure when you're talking on the phone or when you are in a meeting, you might do sketches on a paper or something like that. We have to give value to those things. That's what I think. And that's what I decided to do in my life, in some way.
In your biography, you talked about that you share the passion of art with your father.
Yes.
He's the one that inspired you and the one that takes you from museum to archaeological site everywhere. What would you say is the most memorable place he took you to?
I think the most memorable is the Museum of Louvre in Paris. My father, and again, my mother, especially my father, they were smart enough to understand that I was having this pulsion and a need. I was an extremely lively boy. And instead of direct me to do sports or running like usually people do, they understood that my probably way was more in that. So my father was like, I don't remember, one of the weekend he was taking me to a museum. Super lucky to grow up and born in Italy, which I think is really an honor and a luck, because it's full everywhere you go, in every corner there is beautiful things to see. And but I still remember like completely clearly the first time we went to the Louvre, because that was for me like the door of heaven. Everything was there, like any from every part of the world, Egyptian areas, and then you go to the paintings, the Greek or Mesopotamian, everything. So it was really like the most beautiful day of my life. And every time I go in a museum, it's still a little bit of that sensation. Doesn't matter, of course, there is museums and museums, but British Museum, Louvre, Uffizi in Florence as well, or many others in the world, in Russia, at the Hermitage in St. Petersburg. There are places where the world come together in what I was saying before. This universal language is there. And you see an Italian painting next to a Filipinos or Chinese, and you see that humans are really coming from one core civilization, and then we just diversify. And that's what is the beauty of life, the diversifications. Like in a painting, different colors, they match, and the combination is unique. Also us, we are the same, There is no limitation. There is no limits. Yeah, art is unlimited. That's what I believe.
What was his best advice to you?
To keep believe, because the route and the way of be able to survive with arts is not the easiest game in life. It's very difficult. There is so many delusions. There is people that are they love to probably underestimate or judging and in the wrong way sometimes. Rarely you have somebody encouraging you. So they also psychologically you have to be quite determined to do it, because it's not an easy, life is not easy for nobody. Yeah? I don't say that art is the difficult path to walk in it, but it is difficult, because you expose yourself to someone in some way. So they come to you and say, what you've done is horrible, or, and then you really have to drive between those lines and just to keep going and to think what you're doing has a meaning for you, which this is, So asking your question, it was a few people in life that they told me to keep going, and what I was doing, it was having at least something to say. And I think you have to be down to earth all the time. Even when you do the best exhibition in life, remind them they are, they pass through this world, people like Michelangelo or others. So, to never go nowhere with your mind, is keep cool and try to do your work. The constant is a basic, because you have, I think you have to draw, sculpt every day, and then that helps to keep, the brain thinking and moving, and the association of especially on sculpture, is an association of ideas and hands, because the ability of moving your fingers or muscles is also something that has to be keep trained, like a pianist, then he play every day like 6-7 hours, or the footballer, then he plays every day. So I think they're very common sense, but sometimes people forget about it, and they forget that behind any artworks, the one that you can consider artworks, there is a life, and there is someone that dedicated a lot of time and a lot of thoughts and a lot of changing thoughts during the time. So it's a journey. So when you see a piece, you see, yes, a final work that is totally up to the spectator to understand if they like it, if they don't like it, but definitely there is someone behind, and a life story behind that.
As an artist, what is the one thing you will never compromise?
I will never compromise in let others do what I need to do. And that's something that unfortunately is more common. I'm talking for my life. Another one, actually, I just want to erase what I was start to saying, because there is, the idea is very critical point what we are talking at the moment, because, there is the idea and then the what I was trying to say before as well, the hands going with the idea, right? Art, again, is a free word. It can include everything, including any form of art is welcome to my understanding. Meanwhile, what I choose to do is to combine these two things, so ideas with the manufacturing, so the involvement of the hands. Leonardo da Vinci used to say then his brain was in his fingers, which of course is not particularly true because the guy was a genius also, of course, in engineering and science. But when you see his work, especially the painting, you understand that in that moment it's really true what he was saying. His brain was in his fingers because when you move the brush in that way, you're creating the mist. Then he was creating this something like then it technically and physically is extremely difficult. So now to dedicate this to another person or a machine, like some people do, I think they waste the beauty of the journey. So I will never do that. I will do it if I will have a car accident, then I will lie down in a bed. So probably I can't stop doing art. So in that case, I will be obliged. But otherwise, this is my journey. Combination of hands and feelings and brain. That's what will not allow me to do it.
In 2004, you moved to London.
In 2004, it was much earlier, but yeah.
Much earlier. That's early 2000.
Early 2000.
You moved to London.
Yes.
And coming from an Italian experience, exploring the various techniques of,
yes.
The artwork, in London, you masterize, it was an interesting word, structural art.
Yes. Structural
Tell me
art.
about that.
Yes. Structural art is actually a word coming divided as a structural art, I think in the 60s in the States, where this current, they used to think, and they actually to promote then all buildings or bridges or structural architectural works, then they have, particularly in New York, they should be turning into an art exception, which I totally agree. What I did, simply, I just, instead of keeping the structural and art divided, I joined the words together, and structural art is everything to me. A building, and again, a bridge, but also a square is a piece of art. Is also a pin, is also a place where we use as a location, is using as a memory for your life. I'm sure you will have given a meeting point to a friend of your wife or girlfriend in that particular corner. So you will, if you remember, when you say we will find it in, I don't know, Times Square next to the corner of whatever, immediately that place has a different meaning for you. It will be then the first the first date with your future wife. It will be that day, then in this particular place, you will have a fight with someone about something. So this combination, psychological combination that is always happening to us, is related to a place. And so the art is also structural. Art is completely invisible, but is also structural. Then in London, I go a little bit forward this, because then I start doing a lot of artworks then they were staying in the building. For example, I was developing with a couple of friends' houses or flats. And then, of course, the restriction of the structure, then London has it as listed buildings and so on. You could do something, but not totally everything you wish. So then I created especially bas reliefs, or turning a column, for example, then it couldn't be removed as an artwork. And that was an amazing exercise, because then the final user, the buyers, they were having a piece, then it will definitely be unique, because it's only there, that column, made it by, in that case, by me, but could be made by many others artists, it will be structurally on the house, right? So if you think I didn't invite nothing new as well, because, And humans always do that since the beginning, those beautiful palaces, I'm sure in your Veneto region, you have plenty of it, especially Palladio. And they are structural, but they are art. So embracing all form of art has to embrace, of course, the architecture, and the motion, then you have it, the localization where you are. So is really a treasure for people. And that's why I always try to, in any situation, any possibilities that I have, to promote and to convince people to have more and more actually public art or public structure where make people more appreciating the environment, and that's probably in this particular region, I think they are approaching this level at the moment. They did beautiful architecture works like Burj Khalifa, Burj Al Arab, and whatever, but I think now we can go even forwards, and that's including hotellery or many other fields, which I think you could expand.
One of your favorite sentences is that you cannot own art.
Yes, exactly.
Art needs to be shared.
Yes, art is the first generosity form for me. I mean, art, you don't own art. This is not mine. Or even the Torre Eiffel or the Burj Khalifa, it cannot be owned, because if you see it, if you appreciate it, it's yours. You cannot own the sky. You cannot own the beach. Yeah, you can have a private beach, but what does it mean? It's quite ridiculous when we try to limitate something to the ownership of us human. We are here for like a ridiculous short time in the history, and we think we are so important. We don't own art. Art is really for everyone. When you do something, and by the time you finish, it's already not yours. What I wanted to say is, when you see one of my work or any artworks in general, in that particular moment, it will be your story becoming that artworks. It's not more. You don't know why I did this. I don't even know, probably deeply. So the value is adding by you. For you to have a painting in your house, it will be the painting probably both the day than your daughter born. So imagine if the power so the memory will be for you about that painting is beyond any other story. So that's what is beautiful about it. And that's what I mean when you don't own art. The Gioconda of Leonardo da Vinci, it's got 500 years of history. People will be in front of that painting crying, loving, dying, kissing, war, no war. And so who owns that? It's the time owns.
So it's the intangible value of art.
Exactly.
Not the physical element.
The physical, you can believe to own something, but for such a short period of time. What is it, 60, 70 years? It's nothing for the. And what is beautiful about art, then is, to me, is contemporary. All kind of arts are contemporary, in the meaning that if I can have my artwork next to an artwork made at 3,000 years back in time, it's still contemporary, because you still something that is an expression of a human of 4,000 to 6,000 years ago that is still talking to us and it still give us some emotion, and then it's infinite, So this is completely infinite. So when an artist believes that he can control his artworks, I think he should think what he's doing, because you don't. And you don't know if one day my guardian, they will turn it to be something absolutely, if in a conversation like me and you today will happen in 200-300 years. Who knows what we're talking about, those guys. They will not have, they can read something that I wrote, but it will be so much more on it. And that's including also our lives, by the way, Filippo. I'm sure your son, your sibling, or people, they will talk about you in a way that even you don't know about yourself, because you do something.
Only bad things.
Oh, maybe bad things, correct.
Before we go and talk about your work, and in particularly, I would like to focus to the flying horses, the warriors, and the DNA.
Yes.
But I'm going to start with the last one because, again, I love one of your quotes. DNA is not just a question of science.
It is. It is.
So what is all about?
The DNA is something that I think it goes. I'm studying anthropology and philosophy all my life, and I was always been super surprised when the ancient Greek they discover or they suppose then there was the atoms. So imagine the atoms. Is recently humans were able to see then the existence of the atoms, but the Greek 4,000 years ago, they say, yeah, the humans are made by atoms and they are those molds, and the name is Greek, in fact. Same things for the DNA. DNA is something we all believe is in a certain of destiny of people, so where we're coming from, if we will get sick one day. And I don't really think it's that the way to think about DNA. DNA is a genetic chain that give us a certain of guidance, but then, and just put it this way, you have the best genes and DNA of ever. You are technically, supposedly, ready to live 100-year-old because your genes are perfect. You go out of here and a car puts you down and you die. You die at 35. So there is no control. There is not any destiny. The destiny is something that is really amazed people every day because it really depends on what you do. And the same things is in art. You can be a great person or you can be a horrible person. So I don't believe in a destiny of death. Then sometime, especially science keeps saying, your genes are very weak, so you may die at 85. They're so precise. Some doctors, for example, they give exactly sentence, and I really admire them for their courage because how they can possibly know about it. My beginning is I don't know, so that's my quote of life. I don't know, so I have to live to make things happen, and I still don't know what will happen tomorrow. I didn't know I was going to meet a nice person like you today. I know I have an interview, but no clue who you are. And so that's what I think. That doesn't mean you have, I don't say then you have to let go everything, yeah? You have to be always ready and prepare yourself because life is unpredictable. Also the DNA is unpredictable.
Which artist you admire the most? Or they inspired you most for your journey?
For my journey, probably is Brancusi. Brancusi is one. He really came in my life strongly, and he gave me so much. Still nowadays when I see his works, is something like then it really touched me profoundly. And also, my style has nothing to do with this, so I'm not trying to copy or to follow his path. And then, but that's probably the end of the journey because I've been inspired mostly by the ancient artists unknown, and they are the ones from the rock art. So, is the people lived probably between 20,000 to 8,000 years back in time, the one they were doing actually where the guardians are coming, where I get the inspiration from. And what I admire about those people that they were living in different world than nowadays, in caves or in very peculiar places, and fighting with animals. Then they were like super dangerous with no weapons or nothing. And so their life was to survive the day, and or the diseases or everything we can imagine. And they will find the time to draw. That really amazes me all the time. So imagine the necessity that humans has to express themselves. So you are there, you are hunting pretty much all day. Because you need to eat, and you need it to do every day because you don't have fridges or nothing, so you need to hunt. You don't do yet agriculture, so no any other source of living, your sibling, your tribes is in a very dangerous every second of his life. But then you at night with probably a candle or not even candle, probably like a little bit of wooden stick and fire, you have the time to paint in a dark area with the humidity. Why? I always wondered why. I remember the first time I went to Lascaux, which is this beautiful cave in France, and you see all these mammoths and animals. They're so beautifully done as well. I mean, anatomically wise. And Filippo, another important thing, believe me, I mean, sometimes we forgot what we do now. I mean, imagine if you want to do an horse, you will take a picture and you do the horse. So you have a picture first, so you can follow. And those guys, they were painting with the animals they were like in the wild, and impossible to even remember. Atomically wise, they are almost perfect. So imagine those people, how able they were in art ways as well. And that's probably what, and that's, for example, is on the base of the journey of Picasso, same things, or Modigliani, all of those people. They definitely have a huge impact on it, and these humans, because is really the basic. Because as we said before, art is a journey, so you needed to really be interested in every aspect, you know, to then have your cipher, your idea, your differentiation.
Since you touch upon my favorite your artwork, which is the guardians, i guardiani.
Yes.
But each one of them is a different guardian.
Yes.
But I want to ask you, it's interesting to listen. You got inspired from something that is almost 20,000 years old.
Yeah, probably.
At that time. But if I look at their faces, to me, they look more like aliens.
Yes.
So you went from 20,000 all the way to, another 20,000 forward.
Yes.
Or 40,000 is 20 plus 20.
Yes.
So it's interesting what was your message by getting their faces like that?
The faces like that is, exactly what you mentioned. For me, it was also, to me, it was really amazed me. Then those drawings on the scales of the drawing are like 10, 15 centimeters. Then to of course, reinvented them in tridimensional and then take away the eyes. When I saw them, I was like, those are, I understand sometimes when there are some theory, then they were alien in the, like, a lot of theories around the Egyptian or whatever, then the aliens came down to the earth. Well, we don't have any proof of that, and I don't know if they're real or not. But definitely what I noticed is what you noticed. And art has no time. So from 20,000, probably for another 200 or 300,000 humans that will be around, you will find something interesting on something made by humans before. What I tried to do is actually to take it away completely, the eyes. Taking away the eyes figurative, but I let them have a look, because I want the spectators to look at them and have like in a mirror effect. So when you look at one of those guardians, you will have your mirror there. You could be one day, you could be happy or sad or angry or an emotion. Then I really want to give the freedom to anyone, look at them, to interact with the art. So because I want that each of us become a part of the art process. So in some ways, when you look at them and you say, oh, but there is no eyes, but I can see he look at me, or maybe he's in this part. That's what I want, because in that particular time, you become a sculptor as well. Of course, imagination-wise, but you do. So you add in something to the artworks. And I think that is also in many artworks in the world, which more than make you wonder, more than make you interest, or to don't understand, or make an effort to understand them, is where I think is the achievement of the artworks as the peak. When you wonder why the smile of a Mona Lisa is like what, 300-400 years we are talking about it. He's smiling, is sad, is contraction. and if we keep talking and talking. So that's, I think, is the aim of any artworks, is to reach that level where you wonder, are they hunting, are they defending? Each of them, for me, I call them guardians because they are the guardians of the human heritage. So each of them has a kind of guard. There is the guardian of the sky, the guardian of the house, the guardian of the earth, and of the faith. Faith as with not any religion meaning. The faith in the future, the faith in what you're doing. The belief that if you keep doing, you will go forwards, the eyes we have in the front of the face, we don't have in the back of the face, because we have to look forwards, we don't have to look backwards. Is all these metaphors, then they help us to keep walking on the difficult path of the life.
It's interesting, your other collection, which I've learned something, that your flying horses are named after the bright stars.
Correct.
Amazing name: Sun, Canopus, Alpha, Centauri, and Arcturus.
Arcturus, correct.
How did you get the inspiration?
This is a thing, I had actually, I was very lucky to grow up surrounded by horses. And those animals, they have an impact in our life. History of this, of the humans is so deep. They are the animals make us to conquist the world. They helping us. They helped us to do the agriculture. So the relation we have with the horses is so deep and so important. It was the only vehicle we had to do it long distance. They were helping us in the world. They were helping us in everything. And then growing up with them, close to those magnificent animals, I more and more I started losing their vision, physical. It was more a sound. It's more and a light. When I think of horse, I think about the sound of their breath, or the sound of their hooves when they're galloping, right? And the other thing is, it was to me, and then I was, of course, interested in the philosophy again, about especially of the Pegasus. So the horses, when they run, when they're galloping, there is a moment, actually, is a flying moment, where they don't touch the ground. And this sometime, it could happen with the faster thoroughbred, the racing horses. This flying mode could be also like 6-8 meters. So imagine. So I when you have a combination of ideas, I was like, oh my God, so maybe that's what the Greek or all the civilization, by the way, in the world, there is this fantasy animal, which is the Pegasus, an horse with the wings, then flies. I was like wondering, maybe they noticed that and they thought that it really fly, because it does. Also, humans fly as well. If you run, there is a moment you're completely on the air, right? And then I put these things together, thinking, okay, the horse flying, the Greek, they maybe think it was really superb and coming from the stars, from somewhere. They maybe are stars. And then what I thought, then, I went to my imagination trip, and I thought then those stars, they were really coming through our life. So even the physiognomy, the anatomy of the horse, they become so thin, because by the time they were doing this long journey to the earth, they were, of course, losing part of their mass. And actually, when then they impact with the Earth atmosphere, they will really make them even more sleek and long, and that's how it comes. And then I say, okay, you must be the most bright stars of the universe, because you came here as a gift in the real meaning, for the beauty. I mean, I don't know if you never touch or been around a horse. Horse give you such a great sensation. I mean, to the power. Imagine, we still nowadays consider the power in horsepower. So a car has horsepower. Now we have electric engine, they're still using as horsepower. It's unbelievable how deep we are linked to this.
Therapeutic power. They even cure kids or people with problem with horses.
Absolutely. And then all the therapeutical thing. I mean, the horses are, and you know, and what is amazing that is a horse, again, is invisible, is intangible, is an art form. You know, with animals, you have a conversation which is completely intellectual because they don't talk to you. So you make, like you do in front of a painting, you start imagining. You know how many times you heard people say, "Oh, my dog is just, you know, it needs to speech, but then he's a totally human." Well, I don't think that is the dog has this power, but it's their imagination. You know, there is people, if you believe, then the dog, it will help you to go through in a difficult time. It's absolutely real. I don't think it's the dog has that power, but it's you having this imagination. And that's is the same combination is happening when you are in front of an artwork. Because there is no written, Filippo, today this make you happy. No, you do. So that's what I was trying to say before, is the mirror effect. You know, the mirror, then you see something, then it somehow show you your way, right? Horse has, to me, a superpower in that particular case. So to me, they are definitely stars coming from the light.
Till now, we've spoken about your life, artwork, your work inspirations, and one things emerge. We're talking experiences, and you work with many five-star hotels, and we are involved in try to beautify, you know, five-star deluxe hotels by making their furniture. But where I want to go with the conversation is that all these five-star deluxe hotels, they claim there is a brand DNA, and there are transformational experiences. So the creating experiences is no more brand standard, it's an experience. So there is no set agenda or set guidelines. But then you go inside these unique hotels, and some of them, the building is more powerful than the brand. Joe Cinq in Paris, Berger Arabe, De Pierre, New York, Villa d'Este. So all these, they never said, is a Four Seasons Paris, is the Jumeirah, Berger Arabe, or Fairmont de Pierre, or whatever. Because their building, the history is much stronger than the brand they carry.
Yeah.
They do the management. But yet, there is a lack of integration of the experience and the artwork they display in these hotels. It seems that is done last minute, let's go quickly, and not giving that kind of, as we were talking, that intrinsic part of the artwork can transmit. Meaning, I go inside the hotel, beyond the service, I'm surrounded by artwork that, you know, inspires you. What's your views on the deluxe hospitality industry?
I agree with you, and I think that this direction of being an experience have to really become an experience totally, and definitely what could be a great integration to then became something beyond the hospitality, beyond the food and beverage experience, has to be, especially when some of those big brands as those magnificent real estate reality, that they needed to do something to cope with that responsibility. I mention responsibility because it is a responsibility. It doesn't matter if it's an old or a new form of art, while we were speaking about the structural art. If you're dealing with the Burj Al Arab, for example, is definitely a modern construction, and it's still since '98, I think it was the beginning, the finish of the building. It's still nowadays an iconic building that whoever run as an hotellery has to have this very fresh in their mind, and they have to coping with such an iconic building in this case. So the experience, of course, I don't, many of those big groups, they're doing a beautiful welcoming, the service is amazing, the food is superb, and the massages, spas, and all the experience are fantastic. But sometimes they don't really take care as much as I think they should in integrating art in a different form of art into those, so to increment this value. So don't decrease them, but increment. So I think is really one of these experiences, for example, then it works superly beautiful, is the Four Seasons in Florence in Italy. They have this beautiful, magnificent park. I think it's 3-4 hectares in the center of the city. And the previous GM, which unfortunately passed away, I think his name was Patrizio Cipollini, decided in the early 2000s to turn this park into a sculptural park. It was a test. It was something to give exactly this add value on the property, which is already gorgeous. And it became one of the most important artistic parks that we know. I mean, people go there sometimes not just to stay in the hotel, but to visiting the artworks in there. This is turned then, as far as I know, of course, I am not working in the Four Seasons as a corporate, but I know it brings really incredible attraction and also economic values, revenue, because then this relation, then they have it with different artists. I was one of the lucky to have this experience. He has a contract with the company itself, which if the sale happen, then they get the percentage of it. What I think is also very important is to understand for the hotellery industry that art is an asset. Is an asset as for any other collectors. If you like one artworks, you're buying it because you like it, but unconsciously you know also that their artworks is yours, is unique, and it will add in value in the future probably, most likely it will happen. Then, of course, there is some artists that will triple, quadruple their value, some others they don't, but it's an asset. So you're buying an asset in the proper meaning, and that asset is going to be part of the ownership of the building itself or other assets than the group buying it. And if one day they decided to sell, it's an asset, then it may give you better performance than other assets than you have it. So my is more a wish and a will that this, because, you know, for artists, for example, it's always very hard to find situation to exhibit, for example, in such a beautiful environment. And hotels are having this. You know, many of those 5-star hotels have beautiful venues. Then they are really perfect to do an exhibition, to inviting people, to creating a cultural and intellectual gathering, to making people having a beautiful experience. Because as a guest, I won't mind if I will be very happy if you invite me one day when I'm having my holidays for an hour to see an artworks or to speak or to listen the experience of that particular artist or a vernissage, just to walk through, having a cocktail. I think it's in a big event, is an experience, right? Because I heard every time when you go in any hotels, the experience of this, the experience of that. Food, for example, food is like 360 now, you know. Of course, food is also a form of art to me, but sometimes we go a little bit only about food. So, okay, I love to eat, but life is not just about eat. There is also other things. Mm-hmm. Food is not just the food we eat in. Food is also, you can consider food, from my point of view, stretching of course, the word of food. I eat, also I eat. I get alimentated also by culture, not only about bread. The alimentation is coming also from the intellectual point of view, or from the beauty. I mean, I can be super satisfied when you are happy or when you are sad. The first things you stop is the feeling of eating. I don't know if it's never happened to you. And that makes you think of what I'm trying to say. You know, there is a moment where you don't want to eat because you're already satisfied. If you are in front of something that then is super beautiful, you have all of those feelings, you don't think about plate of pasta, right? Same things when you're sad. When you're super sad, you don't think, oh my God, my mother died. I want to have a soup of onion, I'm sorry if I be funny about these things, but the point is, there is not just the food as an experience. The experience are many in life. So I can understand it's the easy probably way, the wine, all the poetry around the wine is amazing. It's beautiful, amazing. There is poetry, really. I mean, a sommelier sometimes he tell you things that they're far away beyond the wine we are talking about. You have in the glass, we're speaking about, you feel this, you now feel to be in South Africa. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the different food and the different experience. So coming back to art, art is the ultimate of this experience. And so this combination, experience and assets, I think that is something that I really wish your work, because we were talking before, and what you're doing in furniture and in the supplying beautiful materials for those hotels, I think it will give you the chance to also promote this point, because it's really, the fine art has nothing to do with the decoration. The decoration, unfortunately, it get aged. You have to change it. The flooring are getting used, and then you have to do things. Art is something that has no time, and is an asset. It will be always with you.
Creates value.
And it creates value.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, what's your plans for the next 3 years? What do you have in store?
Is probably one of the most beautiful and difficult time on my artistic journey, because I'm preparing now 3 big exhibitions which I building at the moment. The sculpture work, which they are like horses of 10 meters high in bronze, long, and 5.5 high, 4.5 meters high, guardians and dancers. And they will, I'm super honored because they'll be shown, I've been invited by the municipality of Forte dei Marmi. So from July 2022 to October 2022, they will be showing around the city, those artworks. And soon after, they will go to Florence. And most probably in January 2023, they will be in Berkeley Square in London. So this, for me, is the changing life opportunity, because I grew a lot in the last few years, thanks also to the Oblong Gallery, Contemporary Gallery. Then they did a brilliant job in promoting, selling, and advertising my works. And this level is to be visible, like we said before, to be part of the city. So is the next step, because the exposure I had here at DFC it was great, but then when you have a mega artwork so big, you expose yourself quite a lot. So I'm expecting that will bring me more strength to carry on, and I'm working on different artworks at the moment, and then of course I really hope then that will be well. And of course we have to be always involved more and more, I believe, with the groups that can do for different reasons, and teamwork to keep promoting and keep selling, because the sales is basic to carry on. It's not just to make us rich. It's to selling is the key point to simply carry on doing what we do.
It'd be great to take one of your 4.5 meters Warrior and put it in front of museum.
I will be super delighted. It will be. For me, it will be a dream.
So after Forte dei Marmi, Florence, and London.
Let's see.
We're going to push it to put in front of museum in the future.
With a real pleasure.
That'd be great. For me, it would be fantastic. Fantastic.
It will be great. It will be great also because, it could be, and it's also for the message that he brings. So it will be amazing, and also a good drive also for the UAE. Then they are really demonstrating the magnificence of faith and strength in the future. It's the only country we're hearing them speaking about 80 years ahead, and it's marvelous. It's really we are lucky to be working and living in this place. It's becoming more and more solid and concrete. It's really fascinating, and And Dubai itself is a piece of art, architectural art, the structural art, but there's not many other cities in the world, Is in a kind of, allow me to say, is the city of the second Renaissance. Because, this remind me in the total differences, of course, of time, but a Florence of the 1500, where everything was happening in there, And now Dubai live in such a similar situation.
I like it. The second city of the Renaissance.
Yeah.
That's something for Sheikh Mohammed.
It is in a second Renaissance.
Unfortunately, we're coming to an end of our discussion. I can stay here all day talking about your artwork, but if I put a massive, giant, 20 meter by 20 meter canvas on top of the Museum of the Future, what message would you write in there?
I will say the simplicity of then to believe in art, because it's the only way then we can survive. Art is the universal language. If we give more attention into art and to understand each other like we do in art, world will be a much better place, Filippo. Because sometimes it's everything about now. People want to own things. They believe to be immortal. And when you're facing art, you feel you are not. We are mortal. And art is immortal. We are mortal. Humans are really upside down in all this project, Look what's happening now in Ukraine. Same things. People think that they can own the land. So you are one of those soldiers, now killing another soldier, I don't say who's wrong or right. You defend a piece of land and you die. What do you own when you're dead? What do you own? Okay. So you don't know when you're alive, imagine when you're dead. So this is something, I understand the political things, I understand the economical point, I understand everything. So they're all scared of the other. They're all scared if there is too many Filipinos in this place, there is too many blacks in the other place, there is too many Italians in New York. So they are humans. I mean, we are too many for what? For what? Who give you the rights to be your Italian? Do you own Verona, Filippo? You don't. You casually born in Verona. I by accident born in Tuscany, but is it really something random, And so yes, believe in art as a language. Have more art than money thoughts, That's what I think. And it's not philosophical, it's real. If we more stay with the values of art and beauty, so art is really open table to me, it's not just visual art. I think people will stop, thinking this is mine, this is yours, this is his, let's share it. You will have your space. You will have your space. When you do, nobody can take your company because it's you. Nobody can do what I do. It's not because I'm the best. What I do, I do. What you do, you do. So we are free.
I always said to everybody, the beauty of being Italian is that whether you don't choose that career or no, but from the moment you open your eyes, art is in your day life. You're walking down the street, there is history, there is culture, and there is art. Yeah. So even if in life you're going to be an accountant, but it needs the kind of DNA, somewhere is written that you lived art, because this is what our country is all about.
It is. That's why we are super lucky. I mean, honestly, the difference we have in life is to share it with the less fortunate to this point. It's not to do stupid things, You have this luck because you're really lucky to have born in such a beautiful city like Verona. You have to share this. It's your responsibility to bring this to others. Same ways others have different experience than us. Born in Manila, they will have, of course, in a beautiful and other things completely different than you. So that's the language I'm talking about. That's the art language, because I will get at something and I will give something. It's not like I'm Italian, so you are Filipino, you don't come to me, and vice versa.
I'm afraid another form of art we have in our DNA is that we can talk forever.
Yes, that's true.
And on that note, I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure.
For me,
thankfully, we have the support of Oblong Contemporary Gallery here in Blue Water in Dubai. which is a wonderful place. They display your work and
Amazing.
many other artists. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.